Hello, my name is JL Solana, and this is my virtual classroom assignment for Race and Racism Understanding Impact and Response. So, part one, Understanding Race, we have a quote from the critical race theory, which is that race is not a biological reality, but rather a social construct, a product of social thought and relations. Um, how does this definition challenge or align with my previous understanding of race? Um, Growing up, I did always see race as black or white. Um, in that there are black people and there are white people, and that was all to it. I just knew that black people black people dealt with racism within America, and I wasn't really able to dig down and deep and really see that it is truly a social contract. So race is not biologically real but socially created. And society assigns meaning to physical features like skin color and builds systems of power around them. Um, Race is really a concept that was generally created by mankind. Um, and it literally, like said, places people in higher powers, or they feel as though they can place themselves in different categories depicting their race, but all of this was socially made in a sense. And this challenges common belief because many people grow up thinking race is biological or genetic. So, like I was saying, when I grew up, I just thought there was black and white. I'm black, so that's just how the world was. And black people dealt with racism, and that's just what it is, and it's biological and it's genetically passed through, but it is all a social construct. And then, you know, what historical examples support the idea of race as a social construct? Um, there is slavery and colonization. Um, Race was just used to justify enslavement. And then you have like um, the one drop rule where you were legally defined who was black. Um, and if you just had like a drop of white or whatever, you were kind of seen as not black, or you were put in a different category, or etc. And then you have immigrant assimilation, which I talked about in my previous video, but groups once excluded become excluded. Um, and that is just examples of how it's all a social construct and how race is a social construct. Um, Immigrants try to assimilate into their whiteness, or black people try to assimilate into whiteness, or etc., to kind of fit this social construct that you know one race is superior over the other. In reality, you wouldn't be trying to be part of a group of people um, if you didn't find some truth within the social contract that society has made. That's how I look at it, which lets me know that social construct really is a real thing, um, because there's superiorness within different races and etc. that society has created and formed. Um, and then, how does Baldwin's perspective in the Fire Next Time complement or challenge this definition? So, Baldwin argues that race in America is deeply tied to power and identity, and whiteness was created as a moral and social category. Racism harms both oppressed and oppressors psychologically. Um, America must confront its racial history honestly to move forward. And uh he complements the CRT way of thinking, so the critical race theory, because of the emotional and spiritual cost of racism, and that race is political, and psychological is not biological. It's not something that was just you're born with, or yes, we are born a color, but the social construct of race is not something like that was meant to be made. Or even when we look at prior to colonization and we just look at ancient um, Africa or etc., and before Europeans even went to Africa and seen a colored person for the first time, there was no concept of the social structure of race. They were all white people and they were all the same. In Africa, we were all black people or darker skinned people, etc., and we were all the same. But when these two races assimilated and they met, which is why cultural assimilation is so important, when these two races met, it became this idea that now there's a social contract because we don't look alike. So we're going to do everything in our power to make sure there's a difference between the two, when in reality, it should have never been like that. Um, and then, yeah, so that's how I kind of got down and etc. How I view the situation.